The bruises were faint, but they were there. Lieutenant General Marcus Hayes had trained his eyes over 30 years of service to see what others missed, and that morning, during the routine inspection at Fort Bragg, he saw them. Purple shadows under her jawline, a yellowish tint near her temple that makeup tried desperately to hide. Staff Sergeant Emma Rodriguez stood at attention, eyes forward, shoulders squared like every other soldier in the formation. But something was wrong, terribly wrong. And in that split second, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. Most generals would have walked past. Most would have assumed she fell during PT or took a hit during combatives training. But Marcus wasn't most generals. He'd seen those kinds of bruises before, back when his own sister wore scarves in summer and long sleeves in spring. He knew the difference between battle scars and the marks of a different kind of war. One fought in silence, behind closed doors, where no medals are awarded and no one comes to save you. Emma's eyes flickered, just for a heartbeat, meeting his. And in that glance he saw everything. The fear, the shame, the silent plea of someone drowning who's forgotten how to scream for help. After the inspection, Marcus didn't file a report. He didn't call her into his office for an official inquiry. Instead, he did something that shocked his entire staff. He waited, he watched, and over the next 3 days, he personally tracked her movements, her interactions, the way she flinched when anyone approached from behind, the way she ate lunch alone, always choosing the corner seat with her back to the wall. He saw Captain Derek Thompson, her fiancé, meet her after duty hours, his hand gripping her arm just a little too tight, his smile a little too controlling. And Marcus knew. He knew, with the certainty of someone who'd lost a sister to this exact nightmare 20 years ago. Someone who'd promised her grave he'd never let it happen again on his watch. But here's the thing about military justice. It's complicated. Without evidence, without her testimony, his hands were tied. Thompson was a decorated officer, son of a retired colonel, with a spotless record and powerful connections. Emma was trapped in a cage built by fear, rank, and a system that often protected the perpetrators more than the victims. So Marcus did something unprecedented. He broke protocol. He showed up at her barracks at 2300 hours, alone, out of uniform, just a man with gray hair and tired eyes who'd seen too much suffering. He knocked softly, and when she opened the door, tear-stained and startled, he didn't ask questions. He simply said, "My sister's name was Rachel. She was 26. I was overseas when she died. I never got the chance to help her. But I'm here now, and I'm asking you to let me do for you what I couldn't do for her." Emma crumbled. Right there in that doorway, she broke into pieces, and Marcus caught her. For 20 minutes, she told him everything. The escalating violence, the threats that he'd ruin her career if she reported him, the isolation from her unit because Thompson had systematically turned everyone against her, painting her as unstable, emotional, unfit for leadership. She'd been planning to end it all, not the relationship, but her life, because she couldn't see any other way out. Her service weapon was in the safe. She'd written the note. Tonight was supposed to be the night. What happened next became legend at Fort Bragg. Marcus didn't just remove Thompson from command. He built an ironclad case, personally interviewing 23 witnesses, uncovering a pattern of abuse that stretched back through 3 previous relationships, all swept under the rug, all silenced by fear and rank. He testified himself, risking his own career by admitting he'd conducted an unofficial investigation. He brought in civilian advocates, military lawyers, even contacted a senator. And when Thompson's family tried to bury it all with their influence, Marcus did something that shocked the entire military community. He held a press conference, stood in his dress uniform with all his medals and ribbons, and told the world about Rachel, about Emma, about the epidemic of domestic violence that was killing soldiers off the battlefield. Thompson was court-martialed, dishonorably discharged, and prosecuted in civilian court. But that wasn't what mattered most. What mattered was Emma. Marcus didn't just save her life that night, he rebuilt it. He ensured she got counseling, transferred her to a new unit where she could heal, personally mentored her through her trauma. He changed base policy, implementing mandatory training, creating safe reporting channels, and establishing a task force dedicated to protecting victims. He turned his pain, his loss, his failure with Rachel into a legacy of protection for countless others. 3 years later, Major Emma Rodriguez stood on a stage, receiving the Distinguished Service Medal, her face clear of bruises, her eyes bright with purpose. She'd become an advocate herself, helping dozens of other soldiers find their voices, their strength, their way out of darkness. And in the audience, retired General Marcus Hayes sat quietly, tears streaming down his weathered face, finally able to whisper to Rachel's memory, "I kept my promise," because sometimes the most heroic thing a person can do isn't leading soldiers into battle. Sometimes it's simply seeing someone's pain when the whole world looks away. Sometimes courage is knocking on a door at midnight and saying, "You're not alone anymore." And sometimes the greatest victory isn't won with weapons or strategy. It's won with compassion, with someone brave enough to break the rules because saving a life matters more than following protocol. That's what real leadership looks like. That's what makes someone not just a general, but a hero.